All right, welcome in, getting closer to the weekend. It's a Thursday, and this is the Sports Huddle on SEMO ESPN Radio. You can always find us 1220 AM, 93.5 FM, and online at SEMOESPN.com. Welcome in, Eric Sean. We'll be joined shortly by the host of the SEMO Scramble, Saturdays at 9 here on SEMO ESPN, Rusty Hendricks. He's on the EBOMD Huddle Hotline, and you can join us on that same hotline. The number is 573-334-1220, 573-334-1220, the Huddle Hotline powered by EBOMD. And let's head to the EBOMD Huddle Hotline. Rusty Hendricks standing by. Rusty, how are things this morning?
Well, like I introduced myself earlier to you, not bad, Eric, not bad. I can't complain. Happy early Father's Day to you.
Yeah, you too. This is your first one, right?
That's right, first one. So, yeah, I'm excited.
As far as you know, I mean, we're pretty sure you didn't slip one past the goalie at any other time, right?
That's right.
All right, a lot to get to. Game 3 of the NBA Finals last night goes to the Indiana Pacers, who are making their first appearance in the NBA Finals in 1/4 of a century. So that was a big win. We will talk a little bit more about that. We have got Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals. In Sunrise, Florida, the Panthers just absolutely beat the Edmonton Oilers, all about the head and face. It was an assault in Game 2, a 6-1 victory for the reigning Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. We will get into that. The Athletic did its annual anonymous poll among the major leaguers, and I thought there were some interesting results. We talked briefly about it yesterday. Now, Rusty, we will get into this anonymous poll that the Athletic does every year. I don't know how often you're able to tune in the Sports Huddle. Did you hear any of the show yesterday or anything that we talked about regarding that Athletic anonymous poll with the players?
I didn't get a chance to tune in yesterday. I normally do get to tune into you guys, but I didn't yesterday. But I am aware of that poll that you're talking about, so that is pretty interesting.
Okay, so that's good. Then we'll be able to bounce it off of you. I bounced a little bit of it off of Mike Rennick yesterday, and of course we had a afternoon Cardinal game at Busch Stadium, a 1:15 first pitch between the Toronto Blue Jays and the Redbirds, and things continue to trend in a troubling direction for St. Louis. They wrap up their 9-game road trip. It ends up being a 3-6 trip. It's a 3-game sweep for really one of the hottest teams in all of Major League Baseball right now. The Toronto Blue Jays are playing very good baseball. They are now 8 games over 500, 4 behind the Yankees in the American League East. They've won 3 straight, obviously, with the sweep. They've won 8 of 12. I believe it's 12 of 15 now for the Toronto Blue Jays. The Cardinals got out to an early lead, Rusty, 2-0 behind Matthew Liberatore, who has been trending in the wrong direction here. That is 3 consecutive losing decisions now for Matthew Liberatore. Now, Nolan Gorman let him down defensively with that little ground ball near second base. Went right under Gorman's glove. Inexcusable defensive miscue by Gorman. At the time, the Cardinals were up 2-0, and things kind of disintegrated from there. It was 8 hits over 5 innings for Liberatore. He threw 90 pitches, and only 3 of the 5 runs were earned. But after scoring single runs in each of the first 2 innings, the Cardinal offense was shut out over the final 7. Your thoughts on yesterday's game, and we'll get into the 3-6 homestand here.
Yeah, well, first of all, unfortunate for the Cardinals that they're picking up against the Blue Jays, Eric, when they're playing their best ball. I mean, right now they're as hot as any team in baseball. So, they're getting the other team's best, and right now, unfortunately, the Cardinals aren't playing their best. a couple of guys deemed up. Donovan out of the lineup in that final game. Unfortunately, there's been a trend. I documented it on our SEMO Scramble show last week, Eric. But since May 19th, you've seen the trend, unfortunately, of the starting pitching tail off a little bit. Part of that, maybe it's some young guys like Libby who was in the bullpen all last year, Eric, that maybe getting a little fatigued and a little dead arm potentially going on right now. So trying to fight through some of that. They're going through a stretch where they don't have very many off days. So, for the Cardinals, they just need to fight through it. Unfortunately, some of the guys in the lineup aren't hitting that well. I mean, man, what a stretch right now for Lars Nootbaar. He has really been struggling at the top of the lineup. There's some other guys too. Obviously, Jordan Walker's not in there yet, but yeah, I mean, just there's the little things is what affected them. You mentioned the error yesterday with Gorman. Just some little things like that. I mean, they had been so good with runners in scoring position during this kind of winning stretch. Not as good in this past series, and unfortunately, when they needed some big runs, the offense wasn't there, and when they were able to score some runs early on in the series, Eric, the bullpen let them down, right? So they had some tough aspects there. So it honestly, at least in this series, it kind of mirrored what you saw a little bit from the Cardinals at the beginning of the season. So look, it's not oh no, the sky's falling for the Cardinals. They get swept by the Blue Jays. I mean, look, again, the Blue Jays, they're playing as good as anybody in Major League Baseball right now. They're on a hot streak. So you want to see them bounce back against Milwaukee coming up. But, like I said, just some little things is what cost them this week.
One thing you've got to keep in mind here, because as of today, and this is June 12th, okay, the Cardinals have an off day on Monday, and then they will not have another off day until July 3rd. This is June 12th, off Monday, and they will play straight through July 2nd with an off day on the 3rd. They will start a 7-game road trip tonight in Milwaukee. We'll talk more about that coming up. One thing that we do see, these are the dog days of June. The Cardinals are playing a lot of baseball, and right now you are looking at a team with a lot of position players that look like they are starting to feel the fatigue. Now you say, come on. These guys are young. They're professional athletes. Well, to quote Tony La Russa, they're men, not machines. We see Lars Nootbaar, who has an extremely high workload, Rusty. He had 2 lengthy stints on the IL last year, and he's been in the lineup pretty much every day for the Cardinals. So they have been riding Nootbaar very hard. They have been riding Victor Scott very hard. This is the highest workload he has had as a major league player. Right now, they are riding Mason Wynn very hard. And you look at a guy like Donovan and Wynn, these guys, I'm not saying other guys don't play hard, but they play extremely hard. They practice hard. You look at a guy like Donovan, he's playing multiple positions. He was not in the lineup because of the toe. Now, he did say the toe was feeling better, so there is some optimism that he's going to be able to go in Milwaukee, whether it's tonight or tomorrow. We shall see. But he did get a day off yesterday. That could be good. Nolan Arenado has been logging a lot of innings. You're starting to see some of these Cardinals maybe potentially showing a little sign of fatigue during this stretch, seeing a very heavy workload. And I think there are 2 reasons for that. First of all, the front office did literally nothing to help Oliver Marmol's bench. Literally nothing. They signed 1 player in the offseason, and it was a good signing, $2 million deal for reliever Phil Maton. They did nothing to strengthen the St. Louis bench. You've got Ryan Vilade. You've got Jose Barrera. Barrera, since May 6th, has 2 starts. 2 starts. And Rusty, they've been in center field. He is not a center fielder, and you look at the defensive metrics, he's not a good center fielder. He is a right-handed bat. They certainly needed a right-handed hitting outfielder, preferably one that could give you some innings in center field in the offseason. They didn't care. They neglected that, and now the Cardinals potentially could be paying the price. So not only was it a case of not helping fortify the bench, but then you've got a manager in Oliver Marmol, Rusty. He's got to have trust in guys that he can put in off the bench. You've got to get some of these guys a little rest. I know some fans don't want to hear that, but again, they're men, not machines, and I don't think that Oliver Marmol has a lot of deep-found trust in some of his options off the bench. And I think in the case of Donovan, whose bat has slowed down, Nootbaar, very, very cold with the bat. The same can be said for Victor Scott. I think fatigue is starting to show signs on this particular Cardinal team. What are your thoughts? What are you observing?
It's funny. I was actually, before you started to go into that, I was going to mention the same thing. I totally agree that there's fatigue aspects right now showing with the Cardinals. And you mentioned it, in large part because the Cardinals don't have any depth positionally-wise. I mean, you mentioned Barrero. I mean, he has 4 at-bats over his past 7 games. I mean, just 20 at-bats over the past, 2.5 weeks. I mean, I'm sorry, if he's on the roster and he's a major league player, then he needs to spell some of these guys. I'm not saying he needs to play every day, no, but, once a week. I mean, same thing with, if Valade's up there, look, there is some questions the other day about him pinch hitting and why he did the other day in one of the late game situations. I understand that. I wasn't a fan of that either. But again, if he's going to be up, he needs to play, a day or two to spell guys. And, I'd like to see Ollie be more creative with some of the substitutions that he's doing where, maybe he has Nootbaar play in center a day to give Scott a day off. Maybe he has, Donovan not only play at second but play in left field a little bit more to spell a Nootbaar. But, again, you can go around and make all those changes. I want to see Gorman play more during this stretch right now. So I think there's some better ways that, Ollie can try to spell some of these guys just to get them a day or two, use some of those off days. Maybe during this stretch, Eric, Ivan Herrera is going to have to catch a little bit more. So you can utilize that DH some too. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, I'll ask you, I mean, Lars Nootbaar, the most at-bats he's ever had in a season, Eric, I think was in 2023. He had 500 at-bats in that season. He ended up playing 117 games. I mean, he's on pace to break that right now. I mean, this may be one of the longest stretches in his entire career in which he hasn't been injured. So, which, knock on wood, that's a good thing, right? That's what we want to see from him, but he's kind of going through a stretch now where he hasn't been through much in his career. So these guys are just going to have to fight through it and find a way. And, look, it's tough. I understand it's hard for us as fans to have much empathy towards that, what they're doing. But you mentioned it, like what Tony has always said, they are men, not machines. So, it's one of those things, too, like when they're doing those workouts and things like that, maybe they're not doing as much stuff as they were earlier in the season. Maybe, not lifting quite as much as far as weights, things of those natures, toned back a little bit. But, it's just a stretch that they're going to have to fight through. And, if they can find a way to string a couple of wins together, then all that stuff's going to go away. But right now, just because they're going through that tough stretch, it's highlighted right now.
So you look back when Lars Nootbaar burst onto the scene, 2022. He finished the season with a 788 OPS. And everybody was like, hey, this guy might be a player, did hit 14 home runs. But he only played in 108 games in 22. In 23, the OPS was almost identical, 784, 14 more home runs. But he only played in 117 games, and you thought, okay, breakout year in 24 for sure, but the 2 extended stays on the injured list, and then that OPS slipped a little bit, 758, just 12 home runs, and it was only 109 games for Lars Nootbaar. This year, 65 games, so the biggest workload to start a year that he has had in his career. He does have 8 home runs, but now that OPS is barely over 700 at 708. It was higher as of 3 weeks ago, but again, being able to be a guy who is all of a sudden faced with the highest workload of your major league career, I think we're starting to see some slippage, and I don't think it is because Lars Nootbaar is becoming a lesser player.
Yeah, I mean, the month of June, Eric, he is 5 for 36 with 15 strikeouts. I mean, he's a guy normally, he doesn't strike out a ton, but he is striking out at an alarming rate, and I do think a lot of that is because, not that he's giving at-bats away, but I think that fatigue is real for him right now, and it's a factor. So he's struggling right now. He's dealing with issues, especially on off-speed pitches. He's not walking as much, only 5 walks the entire month for Lars Nootbaar. So he's a guy that needs to get going. Otherwise, he's going to have to get moved out of that leadoff spot of the lineup for sure.
And then you look at a guy who's got the high workload, and that's Victor Scott. In the month of June, it's a 125 batting average for Victor Scott. It's a 375 OPS. That is a guy who is trying to make adjustments to the adjustments that Major League Baseball made to him. Hit 333 in March. A respectable 259 with an OPS over 700 in April. And then the slippage. In May, his OPS 615, 244 batting average. And then in June, it is 3 for 24, all singles, only 2 walks, 6 strikeouts, couple of stolen bases. So I think it would be fair to say Victor Scott could enjoy a day off or two. But right now, you really don't have a whole lot of options if you're Oliver Marmol, unless they would dip down to Memphis. I don't know if people have been kind of seeing what's going on, but Michael Ciani is down in the minor leagues. You've got Valade up here at the big league level. Michael Ciani, 263. He has 8 doubles, a triple, 5 home runs, a 799 OPS. He's doing a little hitting down in Memphis. It might be time for a call-up for Ciani.
Yeah, maybe. I'm assuming the Cardinals, Eric, are trying to hold off and trying to wait until Jordan Walker is back and hoping that, maybe they can get some relief in the outfield there. But you mentioned it with Scott that, he's a guy that could use some extra days. I know that, we don't like it, but probably, Barrero or Valade is going to have to go out there and center a day or two and to help out a little bit. But, we were praising Brant Brown earlier in the season about this offense and how good they were. Well, look, there's enough sample size now. Other teams, there's a book out on guys this year and how they're hitting and how they're doing. And so, look, they've made the adjustment to the Cardinals. Now they are going to have to make that adjustment back and find a way to, look, hey, they're throwing us, breaking balls off the plate. We got to lay off, or hey, we got to have a different approach. Maybe try to go the other way with it this time. Like those are the types of things they're going to have to adjust to, Eric, and that's where it's interesting to see what Brant Brown and some of this coaching staff does and these players. Because look, that's what separates the guys that are what we call the 4A players versus full-time major leaguers. Anybody can be a flash in the pan. We've seen those, right, that have success in just spurts in the majors. But once you get a book out, then what do? Are you able to find and adjust and get better from there? So I want to see the Cardinals, again, fight through some of those fatigue things and make some adjustments and look to, change their approaches a little bit at times if they need to. But, look, hopefully Donovan is healthy enough he can go. Hopefully we get Walker back here soon as well. And you can kind of mix and match that lineup a little bit better. But I'm not opposed to, sending Siani back up. I know that they're left-handed bat heavy right now, Eric, as far as their lineup and on the bench. But, look, he wouldn't be a bad guy. I'd rather have him up there probably than a Barrero, or definitely better than Valade. I know a lot of people have talked about Sajaci. If they can get him regular at bats, that's a guy I would think about having him come back up as well. So, there's guys you can use. It's just a matter of this front office and how they want to go about it.
So the Cardinals will now embark on a 4-game series in Milwaukee. And welcome to Milwaukee. The Brewers just called up their top prospect, 23-year-old pitching phenom Jacob Misiorowski. He's 23 years old. He has absolutely dominated AAA. He's got a 2.13 ERA, Rusty. It's 80 strikeouts in 63 innings. That's who the Cardinals are going to see tonight. Opposing hitters at AAA are hitting 172. He has a fastball that has reached 103 miles an hour this season. He's regularly in triple digits, and he is their number one pitching prospect. And welcome to the road trip, St. Louis. We're going to throw our young phenom at you tonight.
Yeah, and of course, the Cardinals have a long history, Eric, of doing well against pitchers, that are making their debut or, just seeing them for the first time. They have a long history of doing well against that. But, right-handed pitcher. But, look, at least you have Sonny Gray on the mound tonight, Eric. He was good in his last start. So, to me, that's the key right now. With your offense going through it, I think the Cardinals have to, hopefully their starting pitching staff can step up and have a little bit more success during this stretch. And, I think, too, this is where you might see that six-man rotation start to step in, after the off day next week on Monday. You see that six-man rotation and McGreevy step in, maybe spell a guy. But I think that's when, the Cardinals are at their best is when they're pitching well, and then they can have some timely hitting. But, tough matchup tonight against the flamethrower. So, I don't like that.
Apparently, Chris Roycroft pitches in every game now. It was 2 innings yesterday. I brought up on this show yesterday that I would like to see Andre Granillo get an opportunity for a call-up. 25-year-old right-hander at Memphis with a 1.82 ERA. It's 46 punchies in only 29 innings, an 0.84 whip, and a 159 batting average against. What about giving a look to Andre Granillo? This is a grueling stretch that you're in. There are some guys in that bullpen who may need a blow. I've seen enough of Roycroft for a little while. I'm not saying he's not a prospect, but he had an ERA of 8 in Memphis. He's got an ERA of 8 in the big leagues. A little bit of Andre Granillo. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm with you. He's a guy that's shown it this year. I don't really understand why the Cardinals haven't given him a look. I really don't. And this last time, again, when Roycroft was brought up, it wasn't just him, but, heck, Eric, I would rather them have brought up Ryan Fernandez, a guy that we saw, obviously, at the beginning of the year struggle. But, he's been fine at Memphis. I'm not saying that he's been great, but he's – especially of late, he's been pretty solid. I think he had one game over the past week and a half to where he struggled a little bit down in Memphis. But other than that, he was pretty solid in Memphis this month. So, he was a guy I would have rather have had a look at as well. So I don't know. I don't know why their kind of infatuation with what Roycroft is right now. like you said, I mean, I think he's a guy that can help you, but he's been kind of in a rough stretch of his own. To me, he needs to figure it out a little bit more in Memphis, right now. And obviously, Ollie has been using him in games in which the Cardinals are, either a close game or they're behind, so they're not in like some high stress situations. But still, Granillo would be a guy definitely I would want to have a look at. And that's one of the guys I want to ask about, because I actually, on my show Saturday, Eric, I have Alex Coyle. He's the play-by-play guy for the Memphis Redbirds. He's going to be on my show on Saturday, and that's one of the guys that I was wanting to talk to him about, and some of those guys that we can maybe expect in going forward.
Yeah, also, the thing that's concerning about Fernandez, he really didn't go down to Memphis and set the world on fire. It's 14 walks in 17 innings for Fernandez. Now, he's got 29 strikeouts, but a 1.62 whip is a very high whip, and that's at AAA. So I would like to at least maybe, now you've seen Fernandez, I would at least like to get a look at Granillo. So we'll see what the Cardinals want to do, but with this stretch, they got to rev up the shuttle bus between wherever the Cardinals are and Memphis, Tennessee. I mean, that's just the way that it is. Hey, question for you. Would you like a phone call?
Let's do it.
All right, let's head to the EBOMD Huddle Hotline. Mike is on the line this morning. How are things, Mike?
Hey, guys. Your things are going good. Do you think maybe they're not calling Ciani up because he won't play every day? You've got these two guys, Velotti and Barrero, up here that are supposed to be able to spell ball players. If you call Ciani up, don't you have to almost play him every day? And then you've got two center fielders then. How do you divide their time up?
I think one thing, get Ciani up here, give Victor Scott a breather for a couple of days. You're not far away from Jordan Walker. It's not like he's coming back in a couple of days. And let's face it, Jordan Walker is a guy that is going to need to go on a rehab stint. Michael Ciani last year had great success defensively and a little success with the bat, and he wasn't out there every day. There were days where he was not out there. He navigated what it was like to be a bench player last year, so he's got a little bit of experience in terms of that being under his belt. Rusty, we just don't know about Jordan Walker, but he is not a veteran like, say, a Nolan Arenado, who may have had a sore wrist and went on the injured list, and you might feel good about no rehab assignment for him. I've got to think the Cardinals are leaning toward a rehab assignment for Walker, don't you think?
Yeah, I totally agree, and I believe they've kind of alluded to that as well, to that rehab assignment. So, like you said, I mean, he's a guy that, and it's unfortunate because he was starting to get a little bit of a rhythm before he got hurt. But, yeah, he's going to need to try to build that back up. But, I know that Ciani is kind of Ollie's guy, right? I mean, he loves him. He wants him in there. But I don't know. As a front office, I mean, look, be transparent with Ollie and say, look, this is a temporary thing, guys. We're going to bring Ciani up for a couple weeks, and then he's going to go back down. And so he's, I think he doesn't have to play every day, in my opinion. I mean, just to play a few times, that, like you said, just to spell Scott and then go from there.
Okay, but you say he's doing good in Memphis. If you bring him up and spot start him and do that, does that break his rhythm up any at all? From an everyday ball player to you start maybe every third day, maybe every fourth day, does that break his rhythm up any that he's got going in Memphis?
I think he could break up a little bit of a rhythm, but right now, Victor Scott has no rhythm. And right. Lars Nootbaar's rhythm has kind of gone down to a faint heartbeat at the moment. And I think that fatigue could be a problem there. So you could get a little bit of a rejuvenation potentially with Michael Ciani. And I think that you handle prospects, Rusty, like Ciani, maybe a little different than you do for top prospects. I don't think Michael Ciani falls into the category of he's a big top prospect for the Cardinals. He's a guy that can help you on your current ball club, in my estimation.
Yeah, I mean, what I guess the question is, what's your overall assessment of Ciani? Do you truly believe that he is an everyday player, that he should be a guy in the major leagues? I mean, he got beat out in spring training by Scott, and yes, Ciani had a good year last year. I definitely think there's use for him, that he's a solid player, but, I don't necessarily, at least personally, view him as a guy that is an everyday major leaguer. I feel like he's a guy that's a fringe guy as far as a bench guy and can spell guys or whatever. That's kind of how I view him, but I agree, yes, that could affect Ciani a little bit with his rhythm, but look, right now the priority is the major league team is they're trying to at least be in the playoff mix,
Hey, Mike, I don't know how the Cardinals view him. I view Ciani as a solid fourth outfielder in the major leagues. I don't know how the Cardinals view him. How do you view him?
I view him as a fourth outfielder right now. I think he's got the potential, though, fellas, from what I've seen of him, to be an everyday center fielder and to be a good everyday center fielder. He's young, and he's got a little bit to learn, but I really do see the potential there for him to be an everyday center fielder.
Well, I think he certainly is an everyday center fielder. Defensively, I don't know how well he's going to compete on a day-in, day-out basis with the bat, but I guess we'll never know unless he gets an opportunity, right? But there is a log jam in that outfield, and right now you are seeing that the Cardinals really needed a right-handed hitting outfielder, a move in the offseason they did not make because Jose Barrera, although he looks great in a big league uniform and he's a terrific athlete, he does not hit much, and he is not a center fielder. He will spell you on the infield. He can play multiple infield positions, but they wedged him in a couple of times in center field, and that's not his future if he has a future in the big leagues.
I don't believe so either. What did you say Ciani was batting down in Memphis?
He is hitting two. Hold on a second. I just went over. I flipped over to the pitching. Ciani's hitting 263, but it's a 348 on base percentage. He's drawn 17 walks, so it's a 348 on base. That's a good on base, and it's an 800 OPS.
So he's learning. He's actually. I think in another year or two, if he keeps learning and keeps playing, I think you've got a bona fide everyday center fielder who's going to be pretty decent at the plate. And Newbar, he drops down to 6th or 7th in my lineup right now just to give him a break, just to get him out of that pressure of the leadoff spot. You bat him 6th or 7th down in there and take the pressure off the kid. And let him not have so much pressure as the on deck as the leadoff man.
So you're moving Mason Wynn to the leadoff spot then? Who's taking his place?
I'm going to tell you, and you guys will probably laugh at me for saying this. I believe Wilson Contreras could be a leadoff batter. I really do. I think Contreras could be a leadoff hitter just for the time being to let Newbar get a little bit of the pressure off of him. Well, I wouldn't mind seeing Wilson Contreras leading off.
Not a prototypical leadoff hitter. Rusty, what about Wilson Contreras?
He would not be my first choice. He's a guy that I think that he does a good job, Eric, in those RBI situations.
Like we saw yesterday. Like we saw yesterday, man. It was 2 outs. They just had an absolutely awful at-bat prior. That's where you've got to get the run in, because they were unable to get the run in just before Wilson Contreras came to the plate. It was a terrible at-bat, and Herrera doesn't have many bad at-bats. But, I mean, he swings, hits a little dribbler up the first base line. He could have spit a sunflower seed farther than he hit that ball with 1 out and a runner at third base. I mean, he couldn't get him in, And then, the pressure's on Contreras because you got to score a runner from third base with less than 2 outs, and then Contreras delivered. So I agree with you about the knack for driving in runs.
Yeah, he's got 43 RBIs, Eric, and, he's not a guy that has his OBP is fine. I think it's 335 this year, but it's not like a hugely great on-base percentage. So that's not his strength, but his strength is, again, driving in runs and kind of being in that middle of the lineup. So, look, do you flip Scott up there? I don't know, but, I don't know.
I told you you'd laugh at me about it, but I think Contreras is a good enough ball player that he can bat leadoff for you. I really do. Just my humble opinion, and Jess is probably looking down saying, Mike, you're an idiot, but that's okay. I think where Victor Scott has gotten away, he used to, and I know they're playing in on the grass and doing all of that, but with his speed and his bunting ability, he's gotten away from even showing that bunt anymore, like he's thinking about it. I think he needs to go back to laying the ball down the third base line some more. And I think when you put pressure on the infield like that, good things happen. And I think he's just gotten away from that. And he could get back to even just showing the bunt and putting pressure on them. But they're going to have a slump, and they have to work through it, like you said, Rusty, and we'll see how they turn out. This next stretch with all these games is going to be real important for them. And the thing about it, after you play the Brewers, you go play the White Sox, and then you play the Cubs. That Cubs series is going to be big, fellas, and I'm hoping they're playing it at home. I'm hoping they can take 3 out of 4 from Chicago. But whether they do or not, you're going to have to take 3 out of 4 to stay in this race, I'm afraid.
Should be fun. Should be fun. And, last year going to Chicago, and remember, Cardinals lost freaking 2 of 3 to the White Sox at Busch last year. And believe it or not, the White Sox are marginally better than they were last year. I'm not saying a lot better, but they're marginally better after a modern-day record 121 losses last year. Not exactly the Colorado Rockies, who, by the way, guys, after blowing a 6-2 lead to the Giants yesterday, they are on pace for 133 losses, which would be the second most in MLB history. Only the 1899 Cleveland Spiders, who lost 134 games, would have more losses than the Rockies. And the Spiders were around for all of 1 year, that famous year where they lost 134 games.
Well, fellas, it was good talking to you. I've got to run here and get groceries for my wife. I'm doing honeydews today.
Perfect. Be safe.
All right. See you.
All right. Thank you, Mike. 334-1220, the EBOMD Huddle hotline number. The pitcher that the Cardinals are going to face tonight, Rusty, Jacob Misiorowski, is a Missouri kid. He is from Blue Springs, Missouri. He went to high school at Grain Valley High School in Grain Valley, Missouri. He's 6'7", 197, and they drafted him in the second round out of junior college, Crowder College, which is in Neosho, Missouri. So if he didn't have enough motivation, Rusty, just making his major league debut, oh, yeah, I'm a Missouri kid. I don't know if he grew up a Royals fan or a Cardinals fan. I'm sure we'll find out more about that on the broadcast tonight. But if he didn't have enough motivation, a kid from Missouri making his major league debut against the Redbirds.
Yeah, I'm not liking the chances now, Eric. I'm not liking the chances tonight.
And speaking of Kansas City, some news on the front of funding for the Royals and the Chiefs. Rusty and I will talk about that when we come back. Time out. The Sports Huddle. Rusty Hendricks joining us, host of the SEMO Scramble, Saturdays at 9 o'clock. 9:49, 11 minutes before 10 o'clock. It is the Sports Huddle on SEMO ESPN and online at SEMOESPN.com. Eric Sean, Rusty Hendricks is on the EBOMD Huddle Hotline. Hey, we've got plenty, and I mean plenty, of baseball, summer baseball at Kappahaw Field starting in 10 minutes. It is the Kappahaw Classic. It is 10 summer baseball teams playing today, tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday. Now, the Fighting Squirrels are involved. The Missouri Bulls are involved. SEMO itself runs this tournament, and it is a fundraising arm for the SEMO baseball program. So you can watch plenty of baseball at Kappahaw starting at 10 o'clock this morning and running for the next 4 days. Some of the teams, multiple versions of the Missouri Bulls, their 18U and 17U team. Both those teams will be playing. The Lake Area Rattlers will be involved. The St. Louis Gamers, the Mid-Missouri Outlaws are coming. The SEMO Jumbos, who've been around for summer baseball for quite some time. The feature game tonight and tomorrow will involve the Fighting Squirrels. They'll play at 7:20 tonight and tomorrow under the lights at Kappahaw, but 5 games each day. Now, the weather forecast is not looking that promising. But, Rusty, you're the voice of the Cape Catfish, who are now on a 6-game winning streak. They are out of town all week. That's why they could schedule these games at Kappahaw. But it's going to be a fun weekend of baseball in Cape.
Yeah, absolutely. And a chance for, fans to go and get some looks at, the Squirrels and some of the other local teams. So I'm sure Kappahaw is going to be buzzing. That's great that some of these local teams are going to be there and at a great facility, obviously. And, with the Catfish playing well, they're on the road. They're game and a half up in the division right now. So they're in first place. They're doing some good things. So, some summer baseball. It's always good around here, and it continues to be that way this year.
All right, the Missouri legislature passed the funding plan for the Chiefs and the Royals. The state of Kansas made a run at both of those teams, promising big dollars and funding and help with constructing stadiums and all of those sorts of things. And Missouri has countered. Now the bill will head to Governor Mike Kehoe's desk. Let's get a little bit more information here from KMBC Television. Give you a little bit more about the reaction to the Chiefs and Royals stadium funding bill approval.
That's where we start tonight. Thank you for joining us. I'm Laura Moritz.
And I'm Chris Katz. That Missouri stadium funding bill is now headed to the governor's desk after state lawmakers wrapped up their special session this afternoon.
KMBC 9's Matt Evans has been following this legislation for weeks. He's in Jefferson City for us tonight.
The first 2 bills that funded capital improvement projects across the state and disaster relief funding for St. Louis sailed easily through the House, but the stadium bill faced a lot more challenges.
It's about jobs, and it's about moving Missouri forward.
We simply cannot afford it.
A spirited debate on the House floor as lawmakers spent more than 3 hours on this bill before ultimately passing it by a vote of 90 to 58.
Is truly agreed and finally passed.
Most who spoke against the bill said that Missouri should not be spending millions of dollars in taxpayer money to build stadiums for wealthy teams and owners.
Most of the people in my district can't afford a ticket to either sporting event. They are more concerned about putting food on the table and fuel in their tank and paying their rent and paying their taxes.
But the majority of representatives said losing the teams to Kansas or elsewhere posed too big of a risk.
I was in the corporate world. There are people who say, oh, well, they won't go. They won't go. Yes, they will.
Leadership on both sides of the aisle say they now feel more confident that the teams will stay in Missouri now that the state has an offer on the table.
I'm under no illusion that this guarantees that the teams will stay, but I think it does make a statement that Missouri really wants the teams to stay and is willing to make an investment with the teams to keep them here.
Missouri Governor Mike Kehoe has indicated he will quickly sign all 3 bills the Missouri legislature sent him during this special session. In Jefferson City, Matt Evans, KBC 9 News.
All right, so there's the update, Rusty, and it sounds like if you are a fan of the Chiefs or the Royals, and you certainly don't want to lose them, this is a massive step in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's the fear, right? That's the reasoning why it's come to this point is you don't want to see the Chiefs go to Kansas or build their stadium somewhere else. So, look, I mean, yeah, I understand the viewpoint of that one person talking about, the prices and don't think that, I guess the state should have to pay those things. But at the same time, you got to think of the big picture, Eric. I mean, what kind of revenue it brings to the state of Missouri for the Chiefs, for the Royals, and and those big types of organizations. I mean, what it does to bring in revenue. I mean, brings people from out of town. You have concerts and different things, not just just the teams itself, but other things that come in because of the stadium. So yeah, that's a good thing as well, and you hope that obviously fans can benefit from it down the road.
Let's face it, we know exactly what it's like to lose an NFL football team.
That's right. And interestingly enough, on that note, I mean, the St. Louis Regional Sports Authority, they just discussed a planned 3-year, $54 million upgrade to the Dome in St. Louis. So that's something that they're trying to continue to improve and get better, not just for the UFL, but just for, again, sporting events, concerts, trade shows, whatever. So obviously, both kind of spectrums of the state understand how important that is to their, cities and communities.
Oh, by the way, that same bill looks like it could affect the Cardinals as well. They may be able to get some public money out of this. Bill DeWitt and his contingent are there. The Post-Dispatch has been following that story, so you can see how this could trickle to the St. Louis Cardinals as well. Just go to stltoday.com. NBA Finals, Rusty. It was a pretty impressive victory last night for the Indiana Pacers in the NBA Finals for the first time in 25 years. Now, one thing to keep in mind, they have never won an NBA championship. They did win an ABA champion. They won multiple ABA championships, but nothing as far as the NBA goes. So that would be huge for the city of Indianapolis. Oklahoma City has never won an NBA championship. Now, prior to moving to Oklahoma City, the Seattle Supersonics did, but not in this iteration of the franchise. And so these two cities trying to bring home the Larry O'Brien Trophy for the first time. That was an impressive win last night for the Pacers. And all of the sudden, Oklahoma City facing a little pressure, some pressure that it really hasn't faced this postseason.
Yeah, I mean, they look a little vulnerable, don't they? I mean, the Pacers, look, what they did in the fourth quarter last night was impressive, and what they're getting from their bench, and how they win, I mean, that's impressive. What, Matherin was able to do last night. I thought McConnell was huge for them as well down the stretch. I mean, it's weird. You see a clunker here and there from the Pacers, and you say, okay, this is where the Thunder is going to go ahead and, step on their throat and finish things off. But this one has the feel now, Eric, to me, that it could maybe go 6 or 7 games. This could be a tough series. So Thunder better get back on track here, because right now, these games are in Indiana. So, boy, if they go up 3-1, if they win the next game, boy, that's going to put a lot more pressure on them.
So the Thunder, they were favored by 5.5 last night, and they covered. They won by 9. They outscored Oklahoma City in the fourth quarter by 14 points. It was 32-18. So all of a sudden, sense of urgency ratcheted up for the Thunder. Game 4 is tomorrow night at Gainbridge in Indianapolis. And after being a 5.5-point favorite for Game 3, the Thunder are now 6.5-point favorites tomorrow night. So the odds makers believe that the Thunder are going to bounce back.
Yeah, and again, if they want to make this a series and have a chance in this, they're going to have to. They just need more overall help from their team, and they need a little bit more help from their bench as well. But they just have, I don't know, for whatever reason, like last night and then earlier in the series, Oklahoma City, they just have some lulls throughout the game. So they came in with the prowess, Eric, of having one of the best defensive teams in the entire NBA. They haven't necessarily shown it per se. They seem a little, worn down maybe a little bit in this series. So, but we'll see. I mean, obviously in Game 2, they shown what they can do with the blowout. I'm interested to see what they do in the next game, but you just like to see them be a little more consistent.
All right, Stanley Cup Finals continuing at Amarant Bank Arena down in Sunrise, Florida. The reigning Stanley Cup champion, Florida Panthers, leading the Edmonton Oilers 2-1 after that just beat down in Game 3. So Game 4 tonight, they will drop the puck at 7 o'clock, TNT, True TV, HBO Max. Those are your outlets if you want to watch Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals tonight. Panthers looking for back-to-back cups, and at least for tonight, odds makers like the Panthers. So Vegas does not like the chances of the Edmonton Oilers to come back and even the series 4-4. I'll be keeping an eye on that one tonight. We'll be at the press box over at Kappaha as the Fighting Squirrels take on the Missouri Bulls 18U squad at 7:20 over in the Kappaha Classic. All right, what do you got on the docket here, Rusty? It's Cardinal baseball tonight. Jacob Misiorowski, the Missouri kid, top pitching prospect who throws triple digits, will be making his major league debut against Sonny Gray at 6:40 in Milwaukee. What do you got going on? Cardinal baseball?
Yeah, that'll be number one, watching the Cardinals. I am going to be tuning in to that, Oilers-Panthers game. To me, the big, I guess thing to look at there is just the top guys. I mean, for the Oilers, it's going to have to be, McDavid, Draisaitl. They're going to have to be studs for them to come out on top. And same thing with the Panthers with Reinhart. And, boy, Sam Bennett was so good the other night. So I want to see what the Stars do. That's what I'll be looking at in that game. I'll keep an eye on the Catfish tonight on the road, and I'll probably tune in for a brief amount of time, Eric, as well for the Squirrels and see what they do. And I'm going to maybe do a little more research, get me ready to go for tomorrow in those NCAA games in Omaha, and I'm excited for that coming up this weekend.
All right, the College World Series starts tomorrow at 1 o'clock. All of these games are on the big ESPN. It's Arizona and Coastal Carolina at 1 tomorrow, and then Louisville, Oregon State at 6 o'clock. Now, keep in mind, Oregon State has 3 national championships in baseball. 06 and 07, they went back-to-back. And then the year of the drop pop-up by the Arkansas Razorbacks, all they had to do was catch that pop-up in foul territory by their second baseman, routine play, and he dropped it. And then Oregon State immediately got a base hit and then a home run, and they won the College World Series. That was in 2018. So Oregon State has won 3 of these things. And then on Saturday, the game, obviously, we're keeping a close eye on, Murray State, UCLA. And that is going to be at 1 o'clock. And UCLA did get some good news today. Right-handed pitcher Cody Delvecchio is now academically eligible and on the World Series roster. Delvecchio had made 7 starts, 36 strikeouts in 33 innings. So the UCLA Bruins got an extra arm. I don't know how that's going to affect Murray State, but the more arms, the better. Because it certainly is a battle of attrition in terms of pitching when you get this deep. And then the big game on Saturday night, I would say, I haven't looked at the Vegas betting favorites, but I guarantee you the top 2 favorites are LSU and Arkansas, and they play each other Saturday at 6 o'clock following that Murray State UCLA game. So, yeah, I'm going to be focused in on this College World Series, Rusty.
Yeah, I'm excited. And, look, I mean, I think there's going to be a decent amount of people pulling for the underdog in Murray State, too. So, look, they've already, I think, exceeded, obviously, more expectations than anybody could imagine what they've been able to do. So, I mean, why not make even more of a run? I mean, their offense has been impressive, I think, over this stretch. But, boy, it's a shame that LSU and Arkansas have to face off together. Boy, what a shame.
Yeah, it's too bad. And before we get out of here, Rusty, I think it will continue to build conversation and build momentum. But Aaron Judge has a legitimate shot at a Triple Crown. As we go into play today, it's .394 batting average. That is, let's see, 28 points better than Jacob Wilson of the Athletics. So Judge, .394, he's first. 25 homers. He hit another home run last night. That is one behind Seattle catcher Cal Raleigh. I don't know if Raleigh can stay out in front of Judge. Of all the categories there, the one category that I would almost put into the lock category of the three for the Triple Crown would be home runs for Judge. So it's a nice start here for Raleigh. He's a terrific player, got a big contract extension, the best catcher in baseball. But I don't think there's any way he hits more home runs over the course of a 162-game season than Aaron Judge. And then Judge right now is a 4 RB or is 4 R. Let's start again and do it in English. Right now, Aaron Judge has a 2 RBI lead over Rafael Devers of Boston in the American League. It's 59 ribs for Judge, 57 for Devers. You think this is going to be a total storyline all summer, Judge, Triple Crown?
Yeah, I do. I think it could be a storyline all summer. I mean, boy, he is so impressive, and he's such a good hitter. It's amazing what he's been able to do. And look, you don't have Juan Soto this year, right, Eric? I mean, who's protected him, right? I mean, you got Cody Bellinger. Obviously, Goldschmidt's been pretty good towards the top of the lineup there, but you don't have Soto in the lineup anymore. But he's still doing it, and he's been so impressive. And I'm with you on the fact that I think he's going to stick with the home runs. I think he will be leading in that by season's end. It's the question of the average and the RBIs for me if he can stay on top of. But, boy, I think he's going to be right there. I think he's going to at least be in the discussion all year.
Well, I don't bet, and I don't know what the betting odds of him winning a Triple Crown, but if I was a bettor, I may throw a $20 bill down on I probably only win a couple of bucks. I don't know how the whole betting thing works, but if I was a betting man, I would lean toward Aaron Judge getting that Triple Crown. That'll be fun to follow that. Just one more thing to kind of spice up baseball in the summertime. All right, Rusty, you've got the Scramble. That's going to be Saturday morning at 9 o'clock. You already said that you're going to be talking with the radio voice of the Memphis Redbirds, right?
That's right. Alex Coyle's going to join me. So he's the radio and TV voice of Memphis. So I'm excited for that, get some ideas on some of the guys that we could potentially see in the future and kind of get an update on some of those injury-type guys like Matthews and Tink Hintz and stuff as well.
All right. Have a good show on Saturday. We appreciate your time, and we will talk to you next week. Hopefully you can pigeonhole us in again next week for the Huddle.
We can do it. Thanks, Eric.
All right. That is the voice of the Cape Catfish, Rusty Hendricks, voice of the Notre Dame Bulldogs. As well, say hello to the lovely and talented Dawn Shunt. She's got a day off today. Man, oh, man, she's fired up. She's coming to see the Squirrels play at Kappaugh tonight against the Missouri Bulls under the lights, 7:20. That Kappaugh Classic, 5 games today, tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday, all starting at 10 a.m. They are just underway over at Kappaugh. You want to go see some fun summer baseball? They've got all the concessions going on over there. Big weekend of baseball at Kappaugh. We'll be back for a Friday edition of the Sports Huddle. The Rennick Man will rejoin us. Clinton and friends next.